Hi again. Hi, this is Joe again with another review. And for the sake of this video, I'm going to be discussing the 2016 film Ghostbusters. Of course, starring Melissa McCarthy and three other women. And of course, this movie, I avoided this movie for 2 years. And the reason, let me shut up the volume of my phone. The reason why I avoided this movie for 2 years was because of the fact that I knew this movie was going to be terrible. Because of the fact that it was it was like a total reboot of the original Ghostbusters films. Of course, you can check out my review of the original Ghostbusters movies, plus the real Ghostbusters cartoon. Please check out those videos if you haven't seen it. Do a search on my YouTube channel and you can check out those videos. Anyway, so I knew that when they were going to make a new Ghostbusters, there were rumors there was going to be a third Ghostbusters film. And I think, oh wow, cool, because the first one was a huge success, and I enjoyed the first one because I thought it was different, and it was cool to see. And the four guys, I'm talking about Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, and Ernie Hudson, along with Annie Potts, who played the secretary, Janine. I thought all five of them were really, really terrific. So was Harold Ramis, Sigourney Weaver, the asshole starring there, William Atherton. They all were terrific in this movie, and the on-screen chemistry worked. Now, of course, over the years, Bill Murray says he did not want to do. He was doing more and more serious movies and getting away from the comedy, which made his career in the early '80s. With Stripes and Tootsie and Caddyshack. So he was going to try and get out of comedy and do more serious films, which was working for him. It was nominated. I think it was a couple of times. It was nominated for an Academy Award. I think at least twice. So he was doing a good job with that, and he didn't want to go back to a movie that pretty much made his career. Everybody talked about like Ghostbusters more than any other movie that he ever did. So he was getting tired of Ghostbusters, and he was sick of it, and it looks like it was never going to happen, considering how disappointing Ghostbusters 2 which came out way back in 1989. So Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd were working on a script, and unfortunately, when the movie went into production, Harold Ramis unfortunately, passed away, and he pretty much put a damper on the whole thing. Because unfortunately he died. I forgot what disease he had. I know it wasn't cancer. It was some other weird genetic disorder that he had. Unfortunately, he passed away. But he did dedicate the 2016 Ghostbusters film to Harold Ramis, which I thought was a very, very nice touch, and the right thing to do, by the way. But the funny thing is that practically the whole original cast, talking the three remaining original Ghostbusters, plus Sigourney Weaver and Annie Potts, all make cameos in this movie, which is a slap in the face, at least to me, as a original Ghostbusters fan, because this son of a bitch, I'm talking about Bill Murray in particular, this son of a bitch didn't want to do another Ghostbusters film, but he does a cameo in it. I mean, what a a-hole, I have to say it. For not doing a whole full movie, but he did like two or three scenes in this thing, and I thought it was a joke. I thought it was an insult to Ghostbusters fans, because I want to see the four guys together again. Unfortunately, like I just said, because of Harold Ramis' death, it's never going to happen to see all four of these guys, the four original guys together again, which is going to be a tragedy. It is a tragedy for Ghostbusters fans. But this movie, it's almost the same thing as the original movie. In a way. First of all, I should also say before I get going with the actual plot, the other insult is that this movie was not even filmed in New York City, unlike the first two films. The original two films were filmed in New York. You know exactly where it is. You recognize, especially if you're from New York like I am, you know that you see Central Park, you see 10 on the Green, you see Times Square, you see Columbus Circle, you see the library in Fifth Avenue, the main New York City library on Fifth Avenue. You see In the second movie, you see what the building, which is now down at Bowling Green. It's always been at Bowling Green, but now the American Indian Museum in Bowling Green. You see Central Park with the reservoir in Central Park, which is named after Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. You see all that stuff in over the course of the two films. This film was filmed in Boston, not in New York City, which is an insult. I mean, they tried to put in some New York geography in there, like Times Square, but you can tell that it's not New York, folks. It's Boston. When I found out, and so this movie's going to suck if it's not filmed in New York City. I'm sorry, it's not. And they're trying to use the old firehouse in the movie, and it was used, and that was an actual firehouse, folks. And they have the sign from inside the firehouse, that particular firehouse, which is in downtown Manhattan, does have the sign, the Ghostbusters 2 sign there. The actual sign that hung up from the firehouse with the ghost, and the Ghostbusters sign, we had the two fingers up for Ghostbusters 2. We still have that there to this day. Almost 30 years later. But anyway, to the plot, it's like I said earlier, it's almost the same plot as the original movie. When you have one woman who was working in Columbia University, just like the three guys in the original film, talking about Harold Ramis, Dan Aykroyd, and Bill Murray, also worked at Columbia. She gets fired. So they find out that she wrote a book about ghosts, and also they found out that she had a video trying to help the friend or two friends out from defeating a ghost in a subway tunnel. So she gets fired, loses her tenure, gets fired from the university. Then her two friends who worked at this other, it wasn't a university, it was more like a science laboratory. They got fired from the scientific laboratory because of the video of the ghost in the subway. I'm trying to defeat in the subway. And so they got fired. So the three of them got together and formed this club to do research on ghosts. And they weren't called Ghostbusters yet, but the media, because they got the news on social media, saw the video of the ghost in the subway, so the news media in New York called them the Ghostbusters. And of course they saw other shows, or they were watching a show on cable. It's kind of like a spoof of the Ghost Hunters show that was aired on the Sci-Fi Channel for a few years, which ended its run. And they said, "Oh, this show is a joke." And one of Melissa McCarthy's characters said, "Oh, that show is a joke. Turn it off." And that type of thing. And meanwhile, you have Bill Murray playing a ghost debunker, and he gets killed by the ghost that they captured in the subway. They did eventually capture that ghost in the subway. And then they had later on actually they had this nerdy guy who was in this hotel. First he was involved with this haunted mansion, and then he was involved with this ghost in the hotel. So the Ghostbusters figured out, hey, what's this guy doing all over the place? And then they figured out that this guy was sending out ghosts, or releasing ghosts from this other dimension to wreak havoc on New York, or against the people who did this guy wrong, or who bullied this particular guy. He's saying this goes after the guys who bullied him his whole life. So that's the plot of this movie. And like, huh? I mean, it's so confusing because of all the crazy shit that was going on in this movie, and it's really horrible. And then of course the Ghostbusters try and get a cab, and the cab pulls over to the side, and it was Dan Aykroyd playing the cab driver. He said, "Oh, can you take us to Chinatown?" The guy says, "It's one block further than I'm willing to go," and he goes, "I ain't afraid of no ghosts." So he actually says the line, "I ain't afraid of no ghosts." And then they go to when they go to the hotel, the Ghostbusters go to the hotel to fight these ghosts, and you have all this crazy CGI special effects. And I tell you, the special effects are better than special effects back in the 80s. When the Ghostbusters, the special effects in the 80s were good, but they didn't have the CGI wasn't really there yet in 1984. So the special effects are better in this one. Not because the special effects are better doesn't mean the movie's better. Because the movie, I want to reach into those television screens and strangle these four women. I mean, it was horrible. It was horrible. This movie. And then when they did go to the hotel, they met Annie Potts. And of course, she's on the phone, and then she takes the phone off from her, and she goes, "What do you want?" You know, repeating the line, on one of the most famous lines in the original Ghostbusters movie, when Annie Potts says Ghostbusters, and when she answers the phone, she goes, "Ghostbusters, what do you want?" She didn't say Ghostbusters, but she said the rest of that line, "What do you want?" to the girl Ghostbusters. And now, of course, then they had a recorded message on the answering machine. Oh, this is the ghost. And when people call the Ghostbusters office, the answering machine goes, "Ghostbusters, what do you want?" on the answering machine. And I'm like, oh god! I mean, this is like stretch, having you have all these references to the original Ghostbusters movies, and it's just really, and they're like milking it. They're like milking it. Oh, this is just a reboot of the original Ghostbusters. And they make spoofing what was said in the some of the lines in the earlier films, and so I mean the only people who didn't make a cameo in this one was like Rick Moranis and William Afton didn't make cameos in this thing, but everyone else did. But this movie was terrible. It's terrible. And of course, what happened? Of course, Ghostbusters won the day, and at first the mayor's office, just like in the original two films, trying to shut down the Ghostbusters, trying to make them like complete idiots. Well, they are complete idiots, but for a different reason. And of course that didn't work out because we're getting more and more stuff out there. And it's just, oh god, this movie's still. I can't believe we're going this long about this movie because it's terrible. And that's why I don't think they should have that's why you never had a sequel yet for this Ghostbusters movie, because this movie came out in 2016, and the whole thing with which I'm going to get into in a minute, why I don't think it's going to work out. It didn't work out then, it's not going to work out again a second time, because it was horrible. It was kind of awful. And of course the girls went at the end, and the mayor's office says, "Okay, we're going to work with you, but we're going to keep this on the down low." And the four women says, okay, we do that. And then, of course, then the credits start to roll, and then you see a cameo by Sigourney Weaver. They keep cutting into the credits for us, showing these extra scenes, and you see Sigourney Weaver, being an aide or a mentor to one of the other girls. And this is my mentor, Dr. and whatever her name was. And he says, "Oh, I can't believe this crap's happening again." Or some line like that. She said it so fast. Sigourney Weaver, even though she's now in her 60s, I think she's almost 70 now, Sigourney Weaver, and she still looks hot. All these years later, she still looks smoking hot, Sigourney Weaver. And that's pretty much how it ended. You gotta put in Sigourney Weaver for the Ghostbusters movies, and it's just horrible. I remember when this movie came out. It got so much praise, and I'm like, why? Is it because it ruined the memories that I have, the fond memories I have with the original two movies? Like I said earlier, even though Ghostbusters 2 came out in 1989, was a huge disappointment, but it was still enjoyable to see the four guys together again in the movie, even though the movie was disappointing. But at least those two movies, it was a real great piece of nostalgia, and it was, at least the original film was a very, very good movie because it was a very good concept, very good plot, and everything else in that film. And it wasn't all action through the whole film, because at least it developed in like a cinema review for the Justice League, which it just did. I just did a review of the Justice League, and it built in the original Ghostbusters movie, even in the second one. It builds up to the big action scenes at the end of the film. This one didn't. It was like constant action, constant special effects. I mean, the only one that I really liked in this movie is, the redhead, the one that got fired from Columbia. I thought she was cute. I thought she was hot. And I thought she was smoking hot. I thought she also had a nice body, so that kind of works out too. But the one that was the most annoying out of the four characters was the black one. At least they, naturally they got to put in a black character in there. Like they did with the original was Ernie Hudson, but at least Ernie Hudson was good in the movie. He wasn't annoying. He had his character had presence. He had some good lines, in the two Ghostbusters films. But this woman, I should say, every line she had, she was screaming, "Oh my God! Oh my God! Get that ghost! Get this! Get this! Get this!" And that's how she was speaking through the whole movie. She wasn't speaking; she was yelling. Every line of dialogue she had, she was yelling it. Which made her very, very, extremely annoying, and it's like nails across the chalkboard every time she was online. And she worked for the MTA. She leaves her job in the MTA to work here, and it's like, oh God, it's like you want to strangle these people. That's how bad they were. That's how bad this movie is, and this movie ruined the original Ghostbusters series. It really, truly did. And the reason why this movie got a lot of praise, I should go back into that. The reason why this movie got a lot of praise is this movie came out, like I said, it came out in 2016, the same year that a certain piece of crap ran for president and lost the presidential election. So I figured, if we can have an all-girl Ghostbusters movie, we can have a woman president. I mean, I think that was like the concept they had in mind when they made this movie. Even though Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd had, input in it because they created the original film and created the original series, and they wrote the. I don't know if they wrote this screenplay or had a hand in it, but they should be ashamed for themselves for this. They should, God bless Harold Ramis, but the two of them, Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd, should be embarrassed right now because of this movie. Because it's awful, it sucks, it's unbelievably bad. Unbelievably bad. And to have all these extra cameras, like I said earlier with Bill Murray, I mean, he didn't want to do another Ghostbusters film, but it's okay for him to do cameos in this thing. It's sort of how hypocritical, phony this guy is. Okay? And it just pissed me off. This movie just pissed me off to no end. Just pissed me off. And God willing, they should not do another Ghostbusters movie with these four characters. They should go back and do a movie with the three remaining characters. Oh yeah, I should also mention, they also had a cameo by Slimer, who of course was famous for being in the Ghostbusters films and the cartoon series. This time, Slimer has a girlfriend, so you had a female Slimer in this thing, and the two of them went for a joyride in Echo One, in the car. And of course, the guy who had owned the car was Ernie Hudson's character, who was supposed to be the uncle of the black woman in the movie. And he chews her out for destroying the other car, and it was so. All the cameos were bad. All the cameos for the characters were bad. From the original cast, except for any parts because you repeated the line. What do you want? But even with that, and Dan Aykroyd says, "They ain't afraid of no ghosts." But for them to repeat the lines that they made famous, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, everything about this movie is bad. So I'm asking everybody to avoid Ghostbusters, the 2016. I know it's 2 years late, but please avoid this movie. Don't watch it. Don't buy the DVDs. Don't watch it on cable. It sucks. Like I said, everybody should be embarrassed for themselves for their performance in this movie. So that's my review of the 2016 version of Ghostbusters. Please click on the video. Please feel free to comment on it. Please subscribe to my channel. Please forward this video onto your Facebook pages. You can check out all my videos on my YouTube channel at RowdyC.com. It's OWDY and C.com. That's the homepage of the Rowdy Reviewer. Please see more and please check out all of his videos on this website. Thanks for watching and catch you next time.